Hello everyone, this is the Scroll Ensemble Classical Music Improvisation channel. I am Robert. Let's talk about how to transpose. In this video I will discuss several methods like transposition through hand position, intervals, sighting, using clefs, writing, imagining other instruments, etc. None of these methods is specifically better than any other, but some may just suit you better than the others. Or perhaps some methods are just better for a specific situation that you might find yourself in. My favorite method comes all the way at the end, so wait for that. And the one that I started off with at the beginning will be at the beginning. Let me know how you transpose or what your favorite method is. I want to talk about transposition because I recently put up a series of videos, which you can see here all around, where you get some assignments to practice recognizing keys and transposing some melodies. This is an important part of learning to improvise and, of course, of playing music in general. Transposing is, of course, important practically when imitating someone, but it also deals with the link between what you hear inside your head and how this connects with what your fingers or instrument are doing. When you have a strong link there, it means that you can play anything your mind comes up with on your instrument, and that is, of course, a very useful skill for improvisation. But what is transposition? Just to be sure, I'll shortly explain that here. If it's still not clear, don't worry. Just leave your questions in the comments and I'll take it from there. So, transposition means that you take a melody or even an entire piece of music and put it in a different key. So the whole thing just goes up or down. But it still sounds the same. So here is an example. We have a simple melody just going up in the key of C major, and here I transposed it a fourth down, or to the key of G major. So you can hear it sounds sort of the same, but just a little bit lower. So let's get started. Method number one, just do it. This is a bit silly perhaps, but the point is that some people kind of can transpose already. They just haven't done it so much. Some people just have that kind of natural curiosity of playing something starting from another note and experimenting a little bit, which they've already done when they were little. They just didn't know that was transposition. In that case, you sort of already have the ability. You just need to practice, perhaps starting from some simple melodies and working your way up to where you would like to be. I only mention this because often this type of person feels like they're faking it. Because they're not really following a method. Something that we've been taught is very important. You must have a method and know exactly what you're learning and doing. But I'm here to tell you that this is also a valid approach, just doing it. When I didn't really know what transposition was, this is also how I approached it. For example, I didn't know how many flats or sharps any of the keys had, until much later at the conservatoire. Before, I would just hear the melody of the scale in my head and play it starting from another note, and I had no idea which notes I was playing. They just said, start from the E flat, and I was like, okay, and then I play the scale. In other words, I just transposed the original scale that I had once learned and just played it by ear. I think at first it really helps when you do this to not try to identify too much, like I'm playing this note now, or to know, oh yeah, now I'm going a third higher, but to just really trust your inner ear and the inner melody that you hear, and that your fingers know then what to do on your instrument. But this didn't and still doesn't work for me for complicated or long fragments, so let's look at some other methods that I have come across. On some instruments, for simpler passages, we can transpose by simply moving the hand to a different place. This could be true for transferring a passage that fits on a violin string to another violin string, or for moving the hand on the piano sideways. But this is by no means an approach that will solve everything, so I would say it's mostly an approach that could be used as a sort of extra check. Obviously, if you are going up, so to the right on the piano in the original melody, you should probably not be going the other direction when you're transposing. Also, the physical distance between one note and the other can help grasp at least the general direction. And often on the piano there's a feeling like, oh, this is a fifth or an octave, and so that can help. An easy approach might be to take a couple of minutes of your practice time every day to transpose simple melodies by writing them down. You could start with a lesson book for beginners, or some melodies you already know, or chorale melodies like the beautiful Nun kommt der Heiden Heiland, or some folk songs. In any case, some melodies that are nice, not too long, pretty simple, and would maybe also enter your brain easily. So when you feel comfortable with this, you can then use the Just Do It method, or pick one of the methods that we'll look at next, to transfer your written skill to a practical skill. I also think it's very useful to use a computer program. I use MuseScore. You can then take the melody and already transpose it in the computer, so you can see what happens and what the correct results should be. You can even just go up and down a few steps with the arrow keys. You can literally see what happens. Otherwise, then when you start yourself, you can just see, okay, I want to go to the F, which is a major third lower, and just add this note each time. In your computer program, you can listen to it and you can check. So I think it's a good place that you could start with. So we just saw an approach which could be called transposing by interval vertically. Hotteterre does this as well in his chapter on transposition, which sadly mostly talks about different clefs. So he took this example of an R, which we see above here, and put it up a whole tone each time. First he has the beginning of the melody here, and then he just takes it a step up, and basically his approach is to take each note and then put it a step up, put it a step up, put it a step up, etc. In the 19th century, we find some methods that suggest if you wanted to take an original melody, like this C major scale, and you want to put it up half a tone, transpose it up half a tone, you can just add a sharp for each tone. So you add 7 sharps, basically. This is all wonderful in C major, but then of course if you are in F sharp major with already 4 sharps, you might get into a bit of trouble. The same method though works also for a half step down. We can imagine 7 flats. So this all works relatively well for me with smaller intervals, even when sight reading or improvising. But with bigger intervals, this doesn't work so well for me. But maybe that's different for you. I look forward to hearing that. You can also do something similarly horizontally. A melody from one note to the next could be seen as a series of intervals, like a step down and a fourth up. And then I could start the same melody but on another tone and use the same interval sequence. I'll show you what that looks like. So here at the beginning we have the same note from the A to the A. So if I start from the note F, I know that now I have to go to the same note, because that's what happened in the original melody as well. Next we have a whole step down. So also in the new melody, in my transposition, I will go a whole step down from the F to the E flat. Now we have a perfect fourth up, and so also in my new melody, I will go a fourth up from the E flat to the A flat. Sighting is a term that originates in England in the 14th century and was a way to imagine the notes onto the stave. So in case of transposition, one might look at the original notation and imagine the dots of the notes where you want to transpose to. For instance, if you wanted to transpose to D, you could imagine a dot here, and then here, and then here, and then here. A colleague of mine even suggested doing this for transposition by ear or in your mind. So you might imagine a stave in your head and see the dots on this stave moving according to your wishes. Sometimes it can also help to imagine an extra line below or above the stave, or a line fewer, like in this case. So this note looks like an F, but if you count well, you'll see that there are only 4 lines, and this is our original melody starting on the A, just with a line fewer. Do keep in mind, so now you have transposed the melody kind of to F, but when it's transposed to F, a third down, we have to add 4 flats. So this actually becomes an E flat and that an A flat. So you do need to know in what key you are, sort of, to be able to use this trick. The idea of imagining a different clef is related to sighting that we just looked at. Many of us have already transposed for many years by reading different clefs, for instance the violin and the bass clef. So we had a melody in A, our famous Nun komm der Heiden Heiland, and when we imagine a bass clef we have the note C, so we have automatically transposed down by a major sixth. The only thing is that now we are in a different key, and whenever you transpose down by a sixth or add the bass clef, you have to imagine these extra 3 flats. So if we were in A minor before, now we add 3 flats, so that means C minor. But if you're in E major, 3 flats means that 3 sharps are cancelled, and you're left with just 1 sharp, so G major. Hopefully that's clear. Let me know if not, then we can always add some more explanation. The unsurpassed Derek Remeš has made a PDF with an overview of how to use these clefs for transposition and also a bit of background, so I'll add the link in the description. Here you can see I want to transpose up a second, and then I can use these clefs and have to add these sharps or flats. Another way of approaching this concept is the idea of practicing sight reading and writing in many different clefs. It's sort of like the flip side of the transposition coin. Some of the earlier solfège methods could be great starting points because again they have relatively simple melodies but use all kinds of different clefs. You might also need a specific transposition more often than others, and then you can focus on that one, of course. Here you can see, and it's also linked in the description, the solfège method by Fittis, which has exercises to practice the different clefs, as you can see here. But there are also many other methods, and especially earlier methods, that might be even more interesting for you specifically. Some instruments have transposition baked into them, and they could use that to their advantage. For example, on the recorder, when I play this C with my soprano fingerings, it sounds like a C, but if I imagine I'm actually playing an alto recorder, I use this fingering, and it sounds like a G. So I have the transposition of a fourth, which I can automatically do because this is something I've been doing for all my life. I believe clarinetists and horn players might have something similar. This has been the most helpful method for me, and also helped me better understand the structure of music I'm playing generally. Therefore, it is also helpful for longer and more complicated transpositions because you have more of a bird's eye view of the material. Basically, by using a numbering system, we can organize the melody onto a basic grid of tonality. And a similar system is movable Do, where the Do changes place depending which key you're in. So in C major, Do, Re, Mi, the C is called Do. But if you're in A major, the A is not called La anymore, but again Do. Do, Re, Mi. So this means that Do, Re, Mi is a certain mapped melodic content in my brain. And I can use that kind of mapping to start the Do, Re, Mi melody from any note that I please. The numbering system works similarly. So instead of Do, now I have 1, Re is 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The basic idea is that you have a scale with these different scale degrees, and then when you have your melody that you want to transpose, you simply look, or well, in the end you just automatically know this, at what number belongs to which note. The C is 1, the G we have to find is here, the 5, the E is 3, etc, etc, and then it looks like this. So I can lay out the numbers under the melody. So if I want to transpose this melody to, for example, E flat major, I can get out my E flat major grid. You can see the same numbers again, because now E flat is the tonic, the 1. And I can correspond these numbers to the numbers in my melody. So C is number 1 here, but in E flat major that would be an E flat. So I can write down an E flat. The 5 is the B flat, and so forth. I can reconstruct the melody, transpose it. Then, of course, once you've done this several times, it becomes an automatic process, and you just map the numbers with the different keys that you know well on your instrument. Interestingly, when Hotteterre talks about recognizing the key of a melody, he also writes these numbers down above or below the notes. Weirdly, he doesn't use this when he explains transposition. To make some transposition tricks more natural, or less tied to a specific instrument or clef or brainwave, you could help your brain to really think about this new transposition in terms of the actual notes you are playing at sort of concert pitch, what you're transposing to. I hope this video has been useful for you. Have a go at the transposition exercises with the melodies from Hotteterre's treatise in this playlist. Soon there will also be an explanation video on Patreon with the orchestral scores that these melodies come from. And let me know how you're getting along. If you use another method or have any questions or comments, don't forget to like, subscribe, forward, and watch some more videos if you enjoyed this video. Bye.